The light was bright and then it was gone. Park stood in the dark cargo bay of an alien ship, alone. She did not make a sound. She did not move. She just listened. The air smelled wrong. It was thick and wet, like a swamp in summer. Purple lights glowed softly on the walls, making everything look strange and dreamlike. Alien words were written everywhere, in a language that looked like claw marks in metal. Was small. She stood only 5 feet and 2 inches tall. Her black hair was tied back in a tight bun. Her face was calm, showing nothing. She wore a simple black suit with no armor. She carried 2 knives hidden, nothing else. She looked at the small screen on her wrist. It showed a map of the ship. Somewhere deep inside this vessel, 37 humans were being held as prisoners. They were simple people, farmers, engineers, children. They had been taken from their homes on a small colony world 3 days ago. They had taken them. No one knew why. Maybe for experiments, maybe for slaves, maybe just because they could. Had 12 minutes to find them and get them out. After that, the rescue ship would leave without her. Those were the rules. She had agreed to them. She started walking. Her boots made no sound on the metal floor. She had trained for years to move like this, like a shadow, like smoke. Back on Earth, she had been part of Korea's best soldiers. Then she joined the United Earth Defense Force. She had fought in wars that most people never heard about. She had done things that would never be written in any book. But this mission was different. This was not about war. This was about saving innocent people. She turned a corner and stopped. 3 soldiers stood in the hallway ahead. They were tall, almost 8 feet, with hard shells covering their bodies like armor made of bone. Each one had 4 arms ending in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through steel. Their heads were flat and wide, with big eyes that looked like broken glass. They saw her. For a moment, nothing happened. The aliens just stared at this tiny human standing in their ship. One of them made a clicking sound with its mouth. It sounded like laughter. Understood, she knew what they were thinking. They saw a small woman with no weapons, no armor, no help. They saw something weak, something that did not belong here, something that was not a threat. They did not call for help. They did not raise an alarm. Why would they? She was nothing to them. Had seen this before. Every enemy she had ever faced had looked at her the same way. They saw her size and thought they knew everything about her. They thought small meant weak. They thought quiet meant afraid. They were always wrong. She smiled. It was a small smile, barely there. But if the aliens had known humans better, they would have been scared by that smile. She started counting in her head. 1. The first alien took a step toward her. It was still making that clicking laugh sound. Its friends watched with their big broken glass eyes. They were enjoying this. They thought they were about to have some fun with this lost little creature. 2. His body relaxed, her shoulders dropped, her breathing slowed. This was the moment before, the quiet moment, the last peaceful second before everything changed. 3. She moved. It was not superhuman. It was not magic. It was just speed that came from 10,000 hours of training. It was just skill that came from fighting and bleeding and learning and never giving up. She crossed the distance between them in less than a heartbeat. The first alien did not even see her coming. One moment she was far away. The next moment she was right in front of it, her knife already moving. She knew their bodies. She had studied them for weeks. She knew where the hard shell was thin. She knew where the soft parts were hidden. Her blade found the gap under its 3rd arm. Then it found the soft skin at the throat. The alien fell. It was dead before it hit the ground. The second one reacted fast. All 4 of its arms swung at her in a wide attack, claws cutting through the air, but was already gone. She dropped low, rolled under the strike, and came up behind it. Her knife went up, finding the space between the plates on its back. It made a sound like breaking glass and fell. The 3rd alien finally understood. This was not a game. This was not funny. This tiny human was death walking in their ship. It reached for the device on its belt, a communicator. It was trying to call for help. Throwing knife left her hand. It flew straight and true, crossing the space between them in an instant. The blade hit the alien in the throat, right in the soft gap below the head. The communicator fell to the floor. The alien fell after it. Stood alone in the hallway. 3 bodies lay around her. Violet blood pooled on the metal floor. She was not breathing hard. Her heart was not racing. She felt calm like still water. 7 seconds had passed. She pulled her throwing knife from the dead alien and cleaned it on her suit. She checked her wrist screen. The map showed more soldiers coming, many more. They had heard something. A door at the end of the hallway started to open. She could hear the sound of running feet, heavy feet, many of them. Picked up her other knife from the first body and stood ready. This was just the beginning. The door opened and soldiers poured through like water from a broken dam. 5 came first, then 3 more, then 4 more after that. 12 warriors, each one 8 feet tall, each one covered in natural armor, each one carrying weapons that could cut through metal. They stopped when they saw the bodies on the floor. They stopped when they saw the small human female standing among them, covered in violet blood, holding 2 knives that looked like toys in this place of giants. 8 seconds had passed since she arrived. An officer stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, with red marks painted on his shell. He looked at with his compound eyes, and for the first time there was no laughter. There was something else, something that might have been surprise. He spoke into a device on his chest. His voice was calm at first, clicking and hissing in the language. He was reporting what he saw. A human, female, small, alone, 3 soldiers dead. Then spoke. She spoke in perfect. The words came from her throat in clicks and hisses, exactly like theirs. She had spent 6 months learning their language. She had practiced until her throat hurt, until she could speak it in her sleep. "My name is Lieutenant Park," she said. "You took our people." The officer stopped talking. All 12 soldiers stared at her. No human had ever spoken their language before. No human had ever stood among dead and looked calm. No human had ever seemed so small and so dangerous at the same time. 9 seconds. Raised her knives. "I have come to take them back." 10 seconds. She moved. They were fast. They were warriors from a race that had conquered 63 different species across the galaxy. They had won 1,000 wars. They had never lost. But was something they had never seen before. She did not fight like the other species they had conquered. She did not try to match their strength or their size. She fought like water flowing around their attacks. She fought like fire burning through their defenses. She fought like wind, here one moment and gone the next. Her knives found every weak point, the soft spot under the arm, the thin shell at the knee, the gap between head and body. She had studied their anatomy like a doctor. She knew their bodies better than they knew themselves. The first 3 fell in seconds. The 4th swung a massive blade at her head, but she was already behind him, her knife sliding between his back plates. The 5th and 6th came at her together, 4 arms each, 8 claws reaching for her. She dropped flat to the ground, let them crash into each other, and cut them both as she rolled away. The officer was shouting now. His voice was not calm anymore. He was calling for more soldiers. He was calling for the whole ship. 7 soldiers were down. 5 remained, including the officer. Was bleeding. A claw had caught her shoulder, opening a cut that ran deep. Another had hit her leg, making her limp, but she did not stop. She did not slow down. The remaining soldiers backed away from her. They were scared. These warriors who had conquered worlds, who had killed thousands, who had never known defeat, they were scared of this tiny bleeding human. The officer raised his weapon, a gun that fired bolts of burning energy. He aimed its chest. She threw her knife. It hit his arm before he could fire. He screamed, dropping the gun. Was on him in an instant, her remaining knife at his throat. "Tell your soldiers to stand down," she said or you die. He clicked something to the others. They lowered their weapons. Looked at the 4 remaining soldiers. They looked back at her with eyes full of fear. "Where are the human prisoners?" she asked. The officer told her. His voice was shaking. She knocked him out with a quick blow to the head, then looked at the others. "Run," she said. "Tell everyone on this ship what you saw. Tell them more humans are coming. Tell them we are not afraid." They ran. Stood alone in the hallway again. 12 more bodies lay around her. Violet blood covered the walls and floor. Her shoulder was bleeding badly and her leg hurt with every step. But she was not done. She picked up her thrown knife and started walking toward the detention level. The map on her wrist showed she was close. Just 2 more levels down. Just a few more minutes. Behind her she could hear alarms starting to sound. The whole ship knew she was here now. They were sending everyone to stop her. Let them come, she thought. She had made a promise. 37 people were waiting for her. Farmers, engineers, children, innocent people who had been taken from their homes. She would save them or die trying. Those were the only 2 options. Her leg hurt. Her shoulder burned. Blood dripped from her fingers onto the metal floor, leaving a trail of red drops behind her. She kept walking. She kept walking because that was what humans did. They got hurt and they kept going. They bled and they kept fighting. They faced impossible odds and they found a way. They did not understand this yet, but they would learn. They would all learn. Far away from the ship, Commander stood on the bridge of the human carrier. The ship was named after a great Korean admiral from long ago, a man who had won impossible battles against impossible odds. Hoped the name would bring them luck today. 20 officers worked at their stations around him. Screens showed maps and numbers and information from 100 different sensors, but everyone kept looking at one screen in the middle of the room. It showed a single green dot moving through the ship. That dot was... "She is on deck 7 now," said a young officer named Lee. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "She is still alone." Said nothing, he just watched. The communications officer, a woman named, suddenly leaned forward. "Sir, we are picking up transmissions. They are sending messages across the whole ship." "What are they saying?" asked. Listened for a moment. Her face changed. She looked confused, then surprised, then something like afraid. "They are calling her something, sir. The closest translation is, the small death." Silence fell on the bridge. Everyone stopped working and looked at the screen. Had served with for 6 years. He had trained with her. He had fought beside her. He had seen her do things that seemed impossible, but he had never heard anything like this. "Play the transmissions," he said. Pressed a button, and the bridge filled with voices. They were speaking fast, their clicks and hisses running together, but the translation program turned their words into human language. "All units to deck 7. The human is moving toward the detention area. Team 6 is not responding. Team 6 is dead, all of them. How many humans are there? There must be many. There must be an army. There is only one small female. She moves like nothing we have ever seen. Impossible. One human cannot do this. One human cannot kill 30 of our warriors. I saw her kill Captain. She was covered in blood and she was smiling. She spoke our language. She knows our bodies. She is not human. She is something else. She is a monster." Raised his hand and stopped the playback. The bridge was silent. 30, whispered. She killed 30 of them already. Watched the green dot on the screen. It was still moving, still heading toward the detention level, still going forward. He remembered when he first met. She was just a young soldier then, barely 20 years old. She was small and quiet, the kind of person you might not notice in a crowd, but her eyes were different. Her eyes looked like they had already seen 100 lifetimes. He remembered watching her train. She would practice fighting for 18 hours without rest. She would study enemy languages until she could speak them perfectly. She would push her body past every limit, break it down, and build it up again stronger than before. He remembered asking her once why she worked so hard, why she pushed herself until she collapsed. Her answer was simple. Because somewhere out there, someone needs help, and when that moment comes, I want to be ready. Now that moment had come. 37 innocent people were trapped on an alien ship, and was ready. "Sir," said, "they are pulling soldiers from every part of the ship. They are sending everyone to stop her. I am counting at least 200 soldiers moving toward her position." 200 against 1. Normal people would say those odds were impossible. Normal people would say she had no chance. But knew something about humans that they did not understand. Humans were at their most dangerous when they had something to protect, when they had something to fight for, when they had something to die for. "She is reaching the detention level," reported, "but there are Crimson Caste soldiers guarding it, at least 20 of them." Crimson Caste, the elite, soldiers bred for nothing but war, each one worth 10 normal warriors. "Can she beat them?" someone asked quietly. Did not answer, he just watched the screen. The green dot stopped moving. She had reached the prison. "Sir," said her voice strange, "the High Command just sent a message to their entire empire, every ship, every world, every colony." "What does it say?" Read the translation slowly. "Warning to all forces. Humans are more dangerous than we believed. Do not engage them alone. Do not underestimate their small size. They are not weak. They are predators. They are monsters wearing the faces of children. Treat them as you would treat the deadliest creatures in the galaxy, because that is what they are." Felt something in his chest, pride, fear, hope. "That message will reach 1,000,000,000," said. "They will all know about her. They will all know what one human can do." Nodded slowly. "Good, let them know, let them understand." He looked at the green dot on the screen. It was moving again. "Let them learn what happens when they take our people." The detention level was cold and dark. Metal walls stretched in every direction, covered in writing that could read but did not bother to look at. Her eyes were fixed on the hallway ahead. 20 soldiers stood between her and the cells, but these were not normal soldiers. These were Crimson Caste, the best warriors they had. Their shells were darker and thicker than the others. Their bodies were bigger. Their eyes showed no fear, only cold purpose. They had been bred for one thing only, to kill. Stopped walking. She was hurt. Blood ran down her arm from the cut on her shoulder. Her left leg could barely hold her weight. She had lost one of her knives somewhere on Deck 5, stuck in a soldier who would not let go. She had only one blade left. The Crimson Caste commander stepped forward. He was the biggest of them all, nearly 9 feet tall, with red marks covering his entire shell. When he spoke, his voice was like rocks grinding together. "You have killed many of our brothers," he said "but your path ends here. You are wounded. You are tired. You are alone. You cannot win against us." Did not answer. She was looking past him, through the clear barrier that separated the hallway from the cells. She could see them. The colonists, the people she had come to save. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, pressed her face against the glass. Her eyes were wide and scared, but when she saw, something changed in them. Hope. An old woman sat in the corner of another cell. She reminded of her grandmother back in, the woman who had raised her after her parents died, the woman who taught her to be strong. A man with a broken arm was protecting 2 small children, keeping them behind him even though he could barely stand. 37 people, farmers and engineers and children, innocent people who had done nothing wrong, people who had been taken from their homes just because they could take them. Something changed inside. The pain in her shoulder faded. The weakness in her leg disappeared. She felt heat spreading through her body, starting in her chest and moving outward to her arms and legs and hands. The Crimson Caste commander saw something in her eyes, something he had never seen before, something that made him take a step backward without knowing why. "You do not understand humans," said softly. Her voice was calm, but there was something underneath it, something dangerous. "You think my wounds make me weaker." She took a step forward. "You think pain slows me down." Another step. "You think being alone means I have no chance." The Crimson Caste soldiers shifted. They were not scared. They did not know how to be scared, but something felt wrong. Something about this tiny bleeding human felt wrong. Raised her one remaining knife. It looked so small in this place of giants. It looked like nothing. "When humans are hurt, we get angry," she said. "When humans see our people in danger, we forget about our pain. We forget about our fear. We become something else." She smiled. It was not a nice smile. "We become the thing that monsters are afraid of." She attacked. The fight that followed would become famous across the galaxy. Military academies would study it for 100 years. They would show videos of it to their young soldiers, not as a lesson in how to fight, but as a warning. Never make humans angry. Never hurt their people. Never give them something to die for. Fought like nothing they had ever seen. She was everywhere and nowhere. She was fast when they expected slow. She was strong when they expected weak. She used their size against them, sliding between their legs, climbing up their backs, finding every gap in their armor. She took hits that should have killed her. A claw opened a cut across her stomach. A fist sent her flying into a wall so hard the metal bent. But she got up. Every time she got up. One by one, the Crimson Caste fell. The commander was the last. He and faced each other in the middle of the hallway, surrounded by the bodies of his soldiers. His breathing was heavy. Purple blood dripped from wounds all over his body. Could barely stand. Her body was broken in a dozen places, but her eyes were still clear. Her knife was still in her hand. "What are you?" the commander asked. His voice was different now. There was something in it that he had never felt before. Fear. Looked at him with eyes that held no mercy. "I am human," she said, "and those are my people." She moved one last time. The commander fell. Stood alone in the silence. All 20 Crimson Caste soldiers lay dead around her. The hallway looked like a battlefield. She walked to the control panel and pressed the button to open the cells. The barriers came down. The colonists rushed out, crying and laughing and hugging each other. The little girl ran straight to and wrapped her arms around her leg. "You came for us," she said, looking up with tears in her eyes. "You really came." Put her hand on the girl's head. Her fingers left blood in the child's hair, but neither of them cared. "I promised," said softly. "I always keep my promises." She looked at the group of rescued colonists. 37 faces looked back at her, scared and tired but alive. "Follow me," she said. "We are going home." The rescue shuttle crossed the dark space between the ship and the... Inside, 37 colonists sat in silence, still trying to understand what had happened. Some were crying quietly. Some were holding each other. Some just stared at nothing, their minds still trapped in the cells they had left behind. Sat in the back, away from the others. A medic named was trying to treat her wounds, but there were too many. Cuts and bruises covered every part of her body. Her left arm was broken in 2 places. 3 of her ribs were cracked. She had lost so much blood that her skin was pale as paper. "You need to lie down," said, his voice worried. "You need to rest." Shook her head. "Not yet, not until we dock." Opened his mouth to argue, but something in her eyes stopped him. He just nodded and kept working on her wounds. The shuttle entered this landing bay. When the doors opened, saw something that made her stop. The entire crew was waiting for her. 300 men and women, standing in perfect lines, all facing the shuttle. They wore their best uniforms. Their faces were serious and proud. Commander stood at the front. Tried to walk on her own, but her legs would not obey her anymore. The fight had taken everything she had. She felt his arm around her waist, holding her up, helping her move forward. She stopped in front of. She tried to salute, lifting her broken arm, but it would not move. Pain shot through her body and she almost fell. "Mission complete, sir," she managed to say. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. All colonists recovered, no casualties among the rescued. Did not speak for a long moment. He just looked at her, this small woman covered in blood and bruises, barely able to stand, and she saw something in his eyes that she had never seen before. Tears. "Lieutenant Park," he said, and his voice carried across the silent hangar, "they have sent a message to their entire empire. Every ship, every world, every colony under their control." Blinked. "What kind of message, sir?" "They are calling you the Beast of Earth. They have declared humanity a Class 1 threat, the highest level in their system, the same level as the species that almost destroyed them 1,000 years ago." Paused. "They are withdrawing from our sector, all their ships, all their soldiers. They are running away because of what you showed them." Felt the world spinning around her. "Because of me." "Because of what you are," said. "Because of what we all are. You reminded them that humans are not weak. We are not prey. We are the thing that comes for you in the dark when you hurt our people." He reached out and took her unbroken hand in his. "You saved 37 lives today, Lieutenant. You changed the future of human and relations. You became a legend that will be remembered for 1,000 years." His voice softened. "But more than that, you showed every species in this galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity." Did not know what to say. She had just done what needed to be done. She had not thought about legends or history or changing the future. She had only thought about the people in those cells. A little girl's voice cut through the silence. "That's her. That's the lady who saved us." The colonists were coming out of the shuttle now. The young girl who had hugged on the ship ran forward, her parents chasing after her. She stopped in front of and looked up with big eyes. "Are you really a beast?" the girl asked. "The aliens called you a beast, but you don't look like a beast." Smiled. It hurt to smile, but she did it anyway. "I'm not a beast," she said softly. "I'm just a person who doesn't like it when bad things happen to good people." The girl thought about this for a moment. Then she nodded seriously. "I want to be like you when I grow up," she said. "I want to help people too." Felt something warm in her chest. All the pain, all the blood, all the broken bones and torn muscles and near-death moments, they were worth it for this. For this one child who would grow up believing that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. "You can be anything you want," told her. "You just have to never give up." The medics finally insisted on taking her to the medical bay. As they led her away, Ensign Sarahan turned to the veteran soldier standing next to her. "She arrived so quietly," Sara whispered. "I almost didn't notice her come aboard the rescue shuttle. How can someone so quiet be so deadly?" The veteran had served in the military for 20 years. He had seen many soldiers come and go. He had seen heroes and cowards, warriors and weaklings. But he had never seen anyone like Lieutenant Park. "That's the thing about us humans," he said, watching her disappear through the medical bay doors. "We are always quiet, right up until we are not." He turned back to face the hangar, where the rescued colonists were being led to safety, where crew members were hugging each other and crying with relief, where the name Lieutenant Park was already being whispered like a prayer. "She arrived quietly," he said softly to himself, but 10 seconds later the aliens saw a beast. He smiled. And that beast was us. That beast was all of humanity, small and quiet and easy to ignore until you give us a reason to show you what we really are. Above them, the stars shone cold and bright. Somewhere out there, 1,000,000,000,000 were reading a warning about a new threat, a species that looked weak but was strong, A species that looked harmless but was deadly. A species that would cross any distance, fight any battle, and face any enemy for one simple reason: to protect their own. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.